So, but until we get there, when we talk about bocce's next evolution, why don't we talk about the Chicago Bocce League and give people a little update of what we're about to have in the Ohio PA region as well.
So let's see where to start. Well, Chicago. So in September, I think I memorized the video script by now. Those of you who saw the blooper reel, I had to do that video probably 25 times before everything went smoothly. We're starting in September with North America's first semi-pro, fully broadcasted bocce league. So what that means is that we're going to have independently owned teams. So it's going to be structured. Obviously, in bocce, we don't have the money yet to do some of the things that we would like to do, to have fully professional leagues, or even what we would consider like real semi-pro leagues with player salaries and stuff. So players will get, this is one of the more common questions I get as far as the semi-pro aspect of the league. There are a lot of details that we still have to work out over the next few months. But there will certainly be big cash prizes for winning franchises. A lot of it is going to be up to, just like any other sport, it's going to be up to the franchise owners to distribute prize money and any sort of players' salaries. There's a lot of moving parts here. So when I say franchises, I just mean teams, in the same way that the New York Yankees are a baseball franchise, or whatever, the Chicago Blackhawks are a hockey franchise, right? We're going to have 8 franchises, independently owned. Those will go on sale in mid-June. Before that, we will release the franchise contract information to all of our prospective franchise owners, of which we already have more interest in owning franchises than we have franchises to sell, which is fantastic, of course, from our perspective. So we'll have, these franchises will go on sale. There's a player draft registration process that's open right now. If you live in the Chicagoland area, and you can be available to play a match once a week, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, go ahead, go to ChicagoBocceLeague.com. You can sign up for the player draft. So we'll have, over the next few months, we'll be structuring the league and building out the franchises and all that good stuff. And then in August 9th will be the player draft. And then the league will begin on September 18th. And then in the middle there's media days and stuff like that. So this is going to look and feel like, it's not going to feel like the NFL straight off the bat. We're not going to have the Fox robot doing commercials and stuff yet. We'll build a bocce robot. But in a lot of ways, it's going to be structured. It's structured in a way. So the analogy that I like to use is, we're building a foundation right now that can support a 15-story building. Right now, we're just building the first couple of floors. But we're building that really solid foundation where things can and will naturally evolve to the point that we would all like to see, and we'd all like the sport to be at. And basically, we're going to do this. The idea is to do this regionally, because the U.S. geographically, it's a huge country. So we do this regionally in regions where it makes sense. Chicago's a good place to start. Youngstown, which we'll talk about in a second, is another great place to start. And eventually, as it makes sense, as we're able to facilitate not only the league, but also run a quality broadcast from these places, we'll expand to different regions. And that's a big part of it that we could talk about, Danny, is the product of the league, which essentially comes in the form of the broadcast. Because the reason for there's a few reasons to have leagues like this, but basically it's catered towards the general public and growing an audience from the general public, which is really hard to do when you have, you're broadcasting 2-3 tournaments a month from these random places with different players, different teams,
different rules.
They're different. Everything looks completely different. It's very hard for like the average person to tune in and have any clue what they're watching. Beyond, thinking beyond people who play bocce, just the average person to tune in. It's like, who are these people? Why do I care? So, and for sponsors too, very hard to get sponsors for different random tournaments every week.
I think that's important. I mean, like for whoever's watching now, and one thing that we've seen with our episodes is that we get a lot of rewatches later. So we'll have some people going into the deep content later, and then we have 1,000 people watching the show. Okay, right? We need this to be much larger so that we can grow the sport to where we want it to grow to. And so one of the things that I think we commonly see a hole in, you and I, Michael, and Matt especially too, and then bring in Alex and a few others that we have talked to, is that this sport's very hard to market. There's a few players that are, there's a few teams that are, and we see that in little droves that we've been able to do that. You especially in the BBN, or even when we're doing a Facebook Live, there's certain teams that people want to watch. There's certain players that people want to watch, and we get some higher views. But without the context of a structured league with structured stats and a structured broadcast, you're unable to really build the stars, the semi-stars, the continuity to be able to drive the storylines, to drive towards sponsorships and to views. And that's what we need. We need more than 1,000. We need more. We need more than 5,000 people watching. And I think this is what we're trying to drive towards. And what you're doing, especially in Chicago, and what Matt and I can hopefully do, for the Cleveland to PA area, is to do something similar so that we can build structure, learn from it, and grow. And do that on the Bocce Broadcast Network with really great equipment, with a really high quality broadcast that can be watched over again.
Yeah, we built. So this has always been the plan in my eyes. And so for me, this is like a huge something that I've been looking forward to for a while and that I'm really excited about. But the plan was always, learn how to do the broadcast. Go around to all these tournaments, put in the time. I basically sacrificed the last 2 years of my life to go around to all these different tournaments. I gave up the house that I was living at. I gave up my construction company. So to be able to get to the point where we have this platform now, where there are certain bigger entities that are aware of us, and that we can take the next step because we have this platform that allows us to do so, and to it's prepared. The platform is ready for us to present a product that is worth something to an outsider or an outside investor or an outside sponsor. So, and that's another conversation, the struggles of having a consistent product in the broadcast, especially, different, just not having the resources to have like full-time director, producer, all these things. So, but that's a whole different thing. But we are at the step, and especially with the ABC people, the timing works out nicely where they're ready with their business now. So for years they have an event space in downtown Chicago, where they have hosted weddings, corporate events, stuff like that to supplement their bocce business. But they've gotten the bocce business to the point where they don't need to supplement it, and now they can afford to invest into turning that into what'll be a really, really nice third space, what they call a third space, which is basically there's home, there's work, and then there's the third space, which is a place for more than just bocce. But of course, I mean, it's called the Chicago Bocce Club, so of course it's going to be mainly focused on bocce, but it's going to be this really nice private club that'll attract all different types of people and will allow us to have another aspect of this puzzle that we're putting together that we've needed to wait until this point to be able to do, which is to have a professional looking product and something that looks like a sport and is fun to watch. And, you can have all the different graphics and everything, the player bios and the storylines. And we were talking about stats earlier, Danny, somehow find a way to incorporate stats. We probably can't afford to have a person there dedicated to just keeping track of stats, but looking at ways to do all these different things. And then as the revenue grows from these regional leagues, expanding as we're able to within reason, don't want to overextend ourselves. But then as the revenue grows and the audience grows and these regional leagues can start to travel, this is what we'll see over the next 5 years or so. Regional leagues will be able to start to travel and play against each other. And then eventually, whatever it is, 5-10 years down the road, you start to get in the conversation of like a national league where teams are traveling from Toronto, Montreal, St. Louis, Chicago, Youngstown, hopefully California, New York, Detroit, all these different regions that can support these high quality regional leagues and put out a high quality product, because we already have people, we have people that could take us to the next level that we are already meeting with, and we're having these conversations, and they're very interested in what we're doing. So this is a huge step, not only for us, but for the sport. It's always been about the sport. At some point, I have to make some money so I can move back out of my parents' house. As much as I love them, as great as it smells, whatever they're cooking downstairs.
Yeah, there's still an internet, so like.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi keeps dropping out, But so very exciting. If you feel left out, nobody should feel left out here. This is the next step for the sport as a whole. We have to start somewhere. We have to start regionally somewhere. Chicago is a great place to start for a lot of reasons. Ohio will be a great. The plan is to run. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Why don't we do that before we tie up for the night? But just echoing your statement that this is a stepping stone, and what we've decided to do through our talks is for Matt and I to run a league that's going to be done concurrently, right? That would be done in Ohio. We'll get into more details later about the owners and what we're going to do. There's going to be nuances that are different, such as it being 4-person walk as opposed to the 3-person no walk that's going to be on the Chicago side. So there'll be some that's a little bit more region specific, similar to a DH rule, for the AL and the NL. And I think just for both of us, it's really about learning. So we want to put another product out on BBN at the same time, utilize the beautiful spots that we have out in Ohio, utilize Dante's place at Lorenzino's, and really learn. But it's all about putting highly competitive, high quality bocce from a strategy and playing standpoint on a high quality broadcast, so that we could be able to have a product that can take us to the next level. And so I'm excited to be on the Ohio PA side, trying to think about what we need to do here. And like you said, if we build it, more can come. And so it's not about, it's like these certain regions make sense because of what Dante's built and what he's willing to, help us put in, about the camera work we put in there. Broadcasting out on BBN is going to be major for us. We have a little bit of sponsors for the cameras. So stuff that we could be able to do, where I'm at and where you're going to be at makes sense for a beginning start. but the plan is for it to get bigger. The plan is for it to get bigger. So for those that have input, for those that are wanting to learn more about how they can get involved or what does the future look like, I would say reach out. We're a phone call away, we're a message away. We're looking to expand, we're looking to get better, and we're really excited to put a product in front of the viewer that everyone's going to be able to understand the rules with graphics, with what the scores are to, and not necessarily have to run, pretty exhausting broadcasts. You've done way more than me, but the 8 to 10 to 12 hour broadcasts that are just done simultaneously going game to game to game throughout the tournaments, they have their place in the bocce world. We're not looking to take away from them, but to being able to add a structured environment where like a game has a start and a estimated end time, I think we're getting into, bocce that could be digestible for all.
Structure. Just structure. Structuring, yep. Presenting things in a way that is just simple as it can be, and as easily digestible and broadly digestible and engaging as it can be. And there's, for a lot of reasons, that this is, just the logical next step for the sport and for us. And very happy to be working together. I think it's very important that regionally to have people that see the bigger vision, that don't feel like, it's New York versus Ohio or BBN versus Respect the Line or any of that, because you got to be able to see the bigger picture, which is that none of us are looking to capture to take 100% of the market, of the existing bocce market. There's nothing there. You're not going to, what are you going to do with that? So the idea, I guess something that has been a long time coming, and I'm very grateful that you and Matt and myself and other people are able to work together to get these things done and to, raise the tides for across the board for everybody. So I think a lot of this is the first step. It'll evolve. There'll be some things that we don't see at first. There'll be some ways that this goes that we don't anticipate at first, but one way or another, it'll evolve, and eventually, I think this is going to turn into something very interesting for us, for the sport, and for everybody that's listening to this right now, all you players. So, don't feel, I want to stress this again, I don't want anybody to feel left out. I know there were a lot of people that were excited about what's this announcement going to be, and then it was Chicago, and then people are like, oh, okay, well, even guys like I live in New York, right? Guys from New York, oh, okay, why Chicago? Why don't you do it? It's like, just, you have to do things logically. This is the first step. This is a leap. So this is a big jump into the next thing. And in some ways, it's starting over again with something new. But in a lot of ways, it's something that's been years in the making. And taking this leap will allow us to get to where we all want to be eventually.
I'm excited. More to come for everyone.
So, ChicagoBocceLeague.com. There you go. ChicagoBocceLeague.com for more information. The player draft is now open if you're in the Chicagoland area. We will be selling 8 founding franchises. Like I said, we already have more interest from potential owners than we have franchises available. I think these franchises, $6,000 for a franchise is, for a semi-pro sports team, is quite a bargain. It's a way to be directly invested in the future of the sport. You don't have to live in Chicago to own a franchise. It's a way to be involved. If you're in another region, if you're worried, oh, I'm going to get a franchise here, then you're going to come to my region. I'm going to want a franchise there. You're going to be able to sell these. Well, I can't guarantee. I'm not going to do a Ponzi scheme here. I can't guarantee anything, but these franchises will, the value will increase. You'll be able to sell it down the road and get a franchise in your area. So ChicagoBocceLeague.com, all that information on everything there. Yeah, and just very excited, Danny, for us to be taking this step together.
Definitely. And more to come from Matt and I. I'm looking forward to doing our announcement and our webpage as we get to that. And yeah, it's just going to be a fun, I think it's going to be the big thing that moves the needle. So it's going to be a lot of work, but excited to be involved in it right from the beginning.